Something we're starting to see is that women are talking about how men are becoming harder to come by. Relationships are harder to come by. Men are no longer approaching them. And, this New York Times article that a lot of people are talking about is talking about this fact, that men are just not approaching women anymore. They're not caring about relationships anymore. And a lot of the time, when I hear people talking about why this is, they usually put it down to, women have jobs, they have careers, they're making loads of money. More single women are homeowners than single men. They have higher status now than they did, 100 years ago or whatever. And people are putting that down as the issue. I don't think that that's the problem. And something I have noticed from the women who talk about how lonely they are, they're typically ones who are high up in a career path or something like that, some sort of executive. Something I've noticed about how they talk about how they view relationships is it's usually all about some sort of utility for them. Like, they'll say something along the lines of, oh, I've got plenty of money, I own a home, I don't see the reason why I should get a husband, or something like that. They put it in terms of some sort of material utility. I'm making enough income. Why do I need someone else? Which to me really gets at the real reason why these women are lonely and having a hard time finding a man. And in short, I think the real reason is that these women are so out of touch with themselves that they can't connect on a deep level with someone. That when they talk about a relationship, they don't understand that it's not about money, it's not about income, it's not about status. It's about connection. It's about love. And they put it in terms of, well, I've got a house, I've got income. What would be the purpose? So what I think the real answer is that a lot of these modern women are just very out of touch with themselves. And I want to explain why I think this, starting off with kind of an explanation of my own experiences growing up. What I noticed was that between the men and the women, as a pretty consistent phenomenon, that all the girls growing up around me really did not have any kind of idea of what it is that they wanted to do. And it could be to any degree, whether that's, academically or in their own personal time. Like, when it came to what classes to take or what to study, they did what they were supposed to do. What was maybe academically advantageous. This will help me get into a better college or something like that. Or, they got good grades. They studied, hard and did their homework, not because they were genuinely interested or not because they thought, I really want this kind of career and I see that there's a causal connection here of getting good grades and getting that. No, they just did it because that was what was expected of them. And when it came time to, choose a college and eventually a career path, they never thought of what do I want? They thought of I'll become a marine biologist because that's needed by the world and that'll be a good thing to do. But it was never framed in terms of what do I want? Another thing I heard quite a lot was, I need to do this for women. I need to get good grades and get a good career and make loads of money and become an executive for women. Whatever that means. But never, I want to do this because I want to do it. As I heard quite explicitly from a lot of the young girls throughout the years, even as young as elementary, all the way through college, is a kind of envy from the young women around me aimed at the young men growing up around them. They would say, why is it that, boys can have fun so easily? They would see the other boys in class would have an easy time enjoying themselves. They'd make friends easy, they'd have fun hanging out with each other, they'd joke around, they'd be relaxed, whereas the young girls weren't that way. And I think what it was is that they noticed how the young boys would actually have wants and desires and pursue those, whereas the young girls weren't doing that. They didn't really have interests of their own. They didn't even know what that meant. And as these young girls got older and older and got, into college and out of college and into a career of their own, I think just the question, what do I want, just isn't something they've ever asked themselves. That they've ever even, that I don't think that's even a question to them of what do I want. It's always, what am I supposed to do? What's the right thing to do? What's the good thing to do? But not, what do I actually want here? Which is why when they talk about relationships, they can't just say, I want a husband because I'd love to have a man around, who can talk to me and share in, deep emotional connection and make me happy. That is just not even something that they can say. They look at their, their finances, or they look at their, their career or their status, and that's all they can think of, because that's all that they can imagine is all these external things that they were supposed to do and supposed to achieve and supposed to get. The question of what do I want is just not a question to them, I don't think. So the problem is not that these women have jobs. The problem is not that they have income. The problem is that they're out of touch with themselves. And as an aside, I think this is a big reason why a lot of young women seem crazy. It's not because women are crazy. It's because when you are out of touch with yourself, all sorts of emotions and desires that are inside of you, they don't go away. They're there. You're just not aware of them. They come out. These emotions just come out without any kind of filter or awareness. And that's why a lot of these women seem crazy, and in many cases are kind of crazy. It's not because women are crazy. It's because they are not happy. They're not in touch with themselves. But back to the whole argument that the issue is that women have careers, they're trying to be the breadwinner, and that's the problem. One thing I think is, it's an implication here in this statement that the problem is that women have jobs and have an income and have higher status in society. The implication there is that women shouldn't work and shouldn't have income and should have low status. I mean, also think of it this way. The statement is that as women become higher status, more income and all that, they're trying to date up, which means men need to make even more money and have more status, which is buying into the whole idea that that's all a man is useful for. That a man is only useful as a source of income, that that's the only point of marriage, and that properly that's all a woman should look for. And so the implied solution to this is that a lot of people take is that women should have lower status and lower income, so all the not very high status men will be an open option to them, which I think is I mean, as a man, I find that kind of pathetic. Like, it's not that I need to have higher ambitions or work harder, but rather I need to make sure that the women around me have lower status and lower income and lower ambition than me, so that I'm an option. I mean, that seems pretty pathetic to me. But more importantly, it's not the point. That's not what a relationship is about. That's not what a relationship should be seen as. That's not how dating should be seen as. And I think mainly it's the feminists who have dominated the whole discussion of what a relationship is and how it should look with this kind of narrative, that it's all about income and status, and it's not the way to think about it. I don't think it's wrong that women naturally want to date up. What I do think is wrong is that the only means to measure that is money and status. I think that's a deeply shallow way of looking at it, because I think what's at the core of femininity, of the female sexual psychology, is they want a man that they can admire. They want him to be, someone that they can look up to. But I don't think money is the only way to do that. I think a woman can make more money than him, but what they admire in him is, his emotional intelligence, his intelligence, his intellect, or his, capacity for, deep, soulful insights, or his ability to, create art, or, to do something that she admires. There's so many elements to the human soul to admire, but all anyone ever talks about in this area is just income. That's it. I think one reason why income has become such a dominant part of the narrative is because, a woman wants a man who has ambition and is doing something with himself in his life, and money is typically a byproduct of doing that. A man who's sitting around doing nothing and has no ambition is definitely not going to have any kind of income. A man who does have ambitions and wants to do things with his life is naturally going to have some kind of income as a byproduct. But money is a byproduct, and women really should see money as a byproduct. That's not the point. It's not about, I need a man with $200K income a year. What she should want is a man who has a rich soul to admire. I find it very interesting that none of them really say that they want a man who can listen to them, who has, deep insights on life, or, deep emotional capacities, or a man who has ambition, not corporate ambition, but maybe, he's an artist and he's creating beautiful works of art in a world that doesn't value art anymore. That would be an ambitious guy. Probably wouldn't lead to much money, but he's passionate and he cares deeply about something. That's really admirable. How many people can you say that about? I think what's happened here is that these women have been raised in a world dominated by feminism, and they've been told, as they've been growing up from a very young age, what can you do for the world? What can you do to change history for women? And how can you be, this ambitious person who will end up in the history books as a physicist, or a, engineer, or some traditionally male role? And it's all the lenses that young women are sort of raised to look through. It's always about some creepy, weird agenda about, women need to do this career and women need to do that. And, never once are they asked or even allowed to think about what they want. And I think because of that, they don't even know what love is. They don't even know what that looks like. They don't know what it maybe even looks like or feels like to admire another man. It's probably been so beaten into them to never look up to a man, never admire a man, that maybe that's just not even really spiritually an option for them. So again, I don't think it's that these women are just so high status that, all the loser men can't compete and, be better than that. And, so most men are just sort of outside their range of options. I just think that's buying into that whole framework, which I think is wrong. That way of thinking about it is wrong. That it's only about money and status. Yeah, so I've thrown the word soul around a few times, and what I think that really means is, at the core is, your wants, your desires, your deepest desires. Like, what kind of life do you want to live? What kind of man or woman do you want to be? What are your deepest loves and your deepest hatreds? Like, it's what you want that shapes, your words, it shapes your actions, it shapes what makes you uniquely you as opposed to everybody else. And I think even beyond women, I think this quality in the modern world is really lacking in a lot of people. It's lacking in most of us, but especially in the younger women because of how they've been raised. That part of themselves, their soul, they're just cut off from it. They don't know to ask themselves this. It's always through this lens of like, oh, what's good for women? What's good for the world? What's the right thing to do? The good thing to do? And they never think to ask themselves, what do I want? And I think what's funny is people say that this is like an unintended consequence of feminism, or that feminism has failed. And I say, no. That was exactly the point. Feminism has taught us that romance is chauvinism, that men are useless and stupid and evil, and that, love is just warfare, and that sex is grape. And now we live in a world where people believe this. We now live in a world where a lot of young people don't even know what romance is. They don't even know what that means. A lot of people don't even know what flirting is. Men and women have never been more cut off from themselves and from each other, and I think that was exactly the point of feminism. I think it's not failed, I think it's succeeded brilliantly. Now, if you want me to do a deep dive into feminism, the philosophy of it and the psychology of it, and what actual effects it has on people, leave a comment and tell me that you want to see that, because that'll take me quite a while to write and to make, because I want to put a lot of effort into it. I'll just give you a little teaser, which is the title of it, which is The Dark Psychology of Feminism. If that's something you want to see, leave a comment and let me know. So here are two things that I think you should take away from all this. Firstly is learn from the mistakes of these young women, and that is cultivate deep passions and unique views in yourself. Enrich your soul with as much art and perspectives and knowledge as you can. Become a rich person, not necessarily in money, that would be nice, but more importantly is become rich in your soul. And the second thing would be, when you're going out and looking for women out there, keep this in mind. Does she have this kind of contact with herself? Is she aware of what it is that she wants? Is she in contact with that part of herself? Try asking her not what she cares about, but why. Now, if she is unable to answer why she cares about something, or if she gives answers that are sort of these bromides of, oh, it's important for women to do this, or oh, it's good for the world to do this thing, or even, I'm not really sure. That's not a good sign. That's a sign that she's not really in touch with herself. Someone who is in touch with themselves, they will tell you exactly why they like or care about something, or are doing something in their lives, especially something like, their allegedly deep passions. But I've been shocked how many times I've asked women, but also people in general, why do you care about this thing that you're doing, this career of yours? And either they tell me a bromide of, oh, it's important for women to be doing this, or oh, it's important, blah, blah, blah. But like, no, why do you care about it? And they're just stumped. They don't know. That's not a good sign. And something for you to think about yourself. Maybe try journaling about it. Try writing it down. Like, why do I care about this thing? What is it about this that I actually like? You might find that there are things in your life that you don't actually care that much about, that you're spending a lot of time focusing on. And you might find, actually, I care way more about this other thing that I'm not spending any time on at all. We never are taught to think about this kind of stuff. We're always told, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Be sure to get good grades so you can get to a good college, so you can get a good job, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're never asked, what do you want? Something I forgot to mention was that I have 2 guides on my website. One guide is called my Nourishing Art Guide. It's just a free guide that you can download that's a list of art that I think is really valuable to, your whole perspective of your life and of yourself. Check it out. It's in the description below. You can download it for free. My other guide, which I want to do a video talking more about, I've just recently finished it. It's an introspection guide. It's designed to help you gain the skill of introspection, of understanding your emotions, where they come from, and how to manage them like an adult.
Take it, friends. Arm yourselves with knowledge.
It's about 80 pages. It's not short, and this one is a paid guide that I'm selling. And if you are at all interested in learning how to manage your emotions like a pro, then check out this guide. Managing emotions today is definitely a lost skill. Definitely don't want to end up like this guy.
God, the amount of times that I've asked you to respect me and respect my anxiety pin is, fuck, just
for this.
get the fuck out!
I hope this video has been interesting. Again, leave a comment in the comments about whether you are interested in that video about feminism, and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this, and like the video if you liked it. I hope to see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.